Not my story. Pearl the Mermaid Saga. One mom's quest for Christmas magic ends in a fa-la-la federal investigation. I am absolutely captivated by this holiday saga. It all started when a mom set out to give her daughter the perfect mermaid baby doll for Christmas, only to find herself caught up in a federal drug investigation. Part 1, December 2015. Sammy had her heart set on a mermaid baby. Not just any mermaid, but a mermaid baby. As an adventurous gift buyer, I searched high and low until I finally found a handmade mermaid baby doll on Etsy. In the pictures, it looked like Pearl was wearing a veil, but in reality, that was just her unusual skin. When Pearl arrived, I was thrilled. I even showed her to some teenagers who reacted with sheer horror. I brushed off their reactions, convinced that Sammy would love Pearl. Part 2, Christmas morning. Sammy woke up and dashed to the tree to find Pearl. The video captures her real-time reaction, which was basically, "Oh my gosh, this doll is hideous. What's wrong with you, Santa?" Sammy later remarked that Pearl was her first clue that Santa wasn't real. Part 3, Post-Christmas. Sammy was so grossed out by Pearl that she affectionately dubbed her disgusting after we watched Inside Out. I figured Pearl's hideousness must be due to her strange green hair. I rushed to CVS and bought 2 different hair dyes to transform her locks from green to a bright blonde. My attempts were a disaster, and Sammy looked at me with pity for days. "Pearl's hair is even worse, Mom. Please, just stop." Even her babysitters began to stare at my collection of hair dye kits. Sammy refused to hold Pearl, and I felt utterly defeated but more determined than ever to fix her. Part 4, The Doll Hospital. I discovered a doll and teddy bear hospital in another state. I called them right away and learned it was run by a group of very serious Germans. They were interested in examining Pearl's condition and would provide an estimate for the work needed to make her lovable. Poor Pearl. I asked Sammy to bring Pearl on the plane to visit her aunt, but she refused, pointing out Pearl's many hideous traits. Part 5, Sending Off Pearl. I carefully packed Pearl in a box and addressed it to the doll hospital. I told Sammy that Pearl was going off to have her face and hair adjusted. Sammy wisely noted, "Pearl has even bigger problems than those." Then she wrote on the box, "Please, please help this doll. She has so many problems." Part 6, 4 weeks pass. Weeks went by without a word from the Germans. Clearly, they wanted nothing to do with poor Pearl. I called several times to inquire about the price, but they kept forgetting who I was until I mentioned, "My doll is Pearl, the merbaby." Suddenly they remembered and finally gave me a very expensive estimate. I quickly sent them more money, and the work began. Part 7, The Phone Call. One crisp January morning while teaching, my phone rang. I ignored it, but later listened to the voicemail. It was a detective from the state police department, and he needed to talk to me immediately. I called him back, and he insisted I come down to the precinct at once. I thought precinct was just a term from crime shows, but it turns out it's real. I told the detective I couldn't leave my class and asked what this was about. I informed him that I didn't do makeup lessons and wouldn't be leaving my school. He didn't seem to understand. Part 8, The Big Reveal. The detective explained that the Germans had called the police after discovering something shocking. When they removed Pearl's head to repaint her skin, they found 2 ounces of cocaine stuffed inside. The detective first suggested the drugs were mine. I quickly argued that I had never seen cocaine in my life. He agreed it would be odd for me to stuff drugs in a doll's head and then send it off to a doll hospital. In what was probably the strangest conversation of my life, he asked if a weird uncle had hidden drugs in Pearl's head years ago. I explained how Sammy wanted a mermaid for Christmas, how I found Pearl on Etsy, and why I sent her to the Germans. The detective remarked, "You spent money on this doll? Have you ever heard of Ariel? She's a pretty mermaid and you can find her at any Disney store." I replied, "Detective, Ariel is a grown-up mermaid. Sammy wanted a baby mermaid. She won't be fooled by a fake." The detective chuckled and said it seemed challenging to be Sammy's mother. He then revealed this was the strangest case they'd ever encountered at the DEA. After taking my Etsy information, he hung up and went to work. I called my partner and told him I might be going to jail. I also called my mom to warn her that DEA agents might come by to search our house. She just laughed and laughed. Part 9. The end. After checking my entire family's background, the detective confirmed that neither I nor my parents had any drug convictions, and they didn't believe the cocaine came from us. Phew. The DEA and the doll hospital were now collaborating to plan a sting on the doll maker. Then, the detective said, "I'm sorry to disappoint your daughter, but Pearl can't come home. Ever. She'll be locked away in evidence for an international drug trial." I hung up the phone and told Sammy, "Honey, Pearl is going to stay at the doll hospital longer than we expected. It turns out she has many problems." Sammy nodded and said, "I told you, Mom. The doll is messed up." The end. Everything we do for our children, we try to find the perfect Christmas gift and accidentally buy a merbaby stuffed with cocaine. Becoming embroiled in an international drug smuggling ring. I hope your holidays are exactly what you planned, mermaid and drug-free. And if something unexpected shows up under your tree, know that I understand and that you tried your best.